Next, Meet the Press, America's press conference of the air.
Johns-Manville protects against fire, weather and wear with asbestos building material. Safeguards our water supply with asbestos cement pipe. Johns-Manville controls heat and cold with insulation. Controls sound with acoustical material. Controls motion with asbestos brake lining. Johns-Manville protects and decorates with friction and plastic color tape. Johns-Manville, masters of asbestos, makes homes more comfortable and helps industry produce better products for better living. We now present Meet the Press.
Our guest on Meet the Press, ladies and gentlemen, is Senator John F. Kennedy, Democrat from Massachusetts.
Here's a grand old timer. History tells us that Johns-Manville developed the first practical asbestos brake lining for such automobiles. We've advanced a long way from the early low-horsepower car to the powerful models we enjoy today. The modern automobile is an engineering miracle, achieved by both car builders and parts manufacturers. Johns-Manville brake lining, for example, is the result of constant scientific development in this huge Johns-Manville laboratory. In the interest of your safety, consider the torturous job brake lining must perform. When you apply your brakes, your life may well depend on the quality of your brake lining. In each wheel, there are brake shoes with Johns-Manville brake lining applied here and here. To stand up under the searing heat of friction, the asbestos lining must be precision-made to assure you the highest standards of safety. For that reason, Johns-Manville research engineers are constantly at work designing new and better brake linings to serve requirements of the future. During development, each new lining is subjected to grueling performance trials on this gigantic dynamometer, the world's largest, most exacting machine for testing brake lining. Here, linings undergo punishment far in excess of actual driving conditions. Such careful testing and precision manufacture are the reasons why Johns-Manville brake linings are so frequently specified as original equipment on new cars and trucks, on the new luxury Greyhound scenic cruiser. It's why Johns-Manville asbestos brake linings are used on heavy-duty power equipment. And when your brakes need relining, for safety's sake, you too should be sure the brake lining you buy carries the name Johns-Manville, the oldest name in brake lining.
Now, Meet the Press, the prize-winning program produced by Lawrence E. Spivak. Ready for this spontaneous, unrehearsed conference are four of America's top reporters. Their questions, please remember, do not necessarily reflect their point of view. It's their way of getting a story for us. Here is the moderator of Meet the Press, Mr. Ned Brooks.
And welcome once again to Meet the Press. Our guest is Senator John Kennedy of Massachusetts. He is one of the most prominent figures of the political campaign, one of the younger Democrats closely identified with the New America program, Bradley Stevenson. His campaign with Mr. Stevenson and for Mr. Stevenson in all parts of the country. The race of Senator Kefauver for the vice presidential nomination provided the most dramatic chapter of the Chicago Convention. Lost by only a very few votes. Strong showing convinced many party leaders of his future possibilities on the national scene. Senator Kennedy was elected to the House of Representatives in 1946. 29 years old. He had a distinguished war record as a PT boat commander in the Pacific, injured in action, twice decorated by the Navy. After serving for 6 years in the House, he was elected to the Senate in 1952 by the largest vote in Massachusetts history. He's been a newspaper man and an author. His latest book, Profiles in Courage, has been the bestseller on the bestseller list for nearly a year. Now seated around the press table, ready to interview Senator Kennedy, are William Hine of the Washington Evening Star, Tom Gerber of the Boston Herald and Traveler, John O'Donnell of the New York Daily News, and Lawrence E. Spivak, our regular member of the Meet the Press panel. Now, Senator Kennedy, if you're ready, let's start the questions with Mr. Spivak.
Senator, the Republicans are saying that the country is enjoying the greatest prosperity and we're at peace. Why should we change parties? What's your answer?
Well, I think that the Democratic Party
leaders it has in the Congress, various states, presidential candidate, I think, are better equipped to lead the country through the next 8 years than is the Republican Party.
Now, we've done pretty well during the past 4 years. If they, and it's true, that taken our care, and we are a team. Can I say to you, how can you convince the American people that they ought to throw out a party that has done a good job in both positions and replace it with another party?
Well, I've traveled a good deal around the country in the past 2 months. I think it's a great period of transition in the United States. I think that big families are being raised. More and more people are anxious to secure a fair share of the benefits of our prosperity. And I think that they think, I'm sure that I think, that the Democratic Party is the best party to deal with the problem through this period of transition, both at home and abroad.
Now, Senator, in some of your speeches, you said that the Republicans, and these are your words, do not work to meet the needs of all Americans, only select segments of our economy. When you look again, as I said, at the state of the world, at our party, do you really think that argument adds up to that?
Well, those aren't my very words, but the idea is there. I think that the statistics show that under the Republicans in the last 4 years, just taking the business world, that the profits of the largest corporations have gone up 61% in the last 4 years, and that business failures are up 59%. Now, I've been in a lot of states in the country. Every one of those states, the business failures have been up substantially. They go up as high as 141%, the number in the last 4 years. I don't think that there's any doubt that there's been a variance between the prosperity of large and small business during the past 4 years.
Mr. Gerber. Senator, in your speeches on behalf of Democratic candidates, you've cited the plight of the American farmer as one of the issues in the campaign. Do you blame the farmer's circumstances on the Republicans?
I think that the question, no, I don't wholly, because I think a lot of the problems are just in the nature of the farm economy at this particular time. The question really is whether the Republican program has been as effective as it could have been for the farmer. I think that's an issue.
Well, if you don't believe that the Republicans are responsible for it, how do you justify using this as an issue to vote the Democratic ticket?
Well, I think that the farmer feels that he hasn't shared in the general prosperity. Of course, he hasn't. No doubt of that. Republicans and Democrats agree on that. The question then that comes is whether the Republicans have done as much as they could have done to relieve the farmer. I think that's an issue for this campaign.
Well, then, in part, it is you think it is partly the responsibility of the Republicans that the farmer is having as great a share in the
well, they hold the responsibility of office, and I think the farmers feel, and I think many others feel, that they haven't done as much as they could have. Now, as you know, and I did not vote for the Democratic program as it was presented of 90% in the United States Congress. I supported Senator Anderson, who was the Secretary of Agriculture, President Truman, who thought that there should be some degree of flexibility. We finally hit a figure of 87%. So that I did not go along with the majority of the Democrats completely on their approach to the farm problem. That doesn't mean that I don't think that more could be done in that area. And both in the distribution of surpluses abroad, relief of the drought, which has been, I think, very tardy after traveling to the Southwest this week. And as a result of the effort of the Democrats in the Senate, Mr. Benson made a decision which raised parity, as you know, up to its present 85 or 6% rather than 4 or 5 points below that figure at the time that the debate took place.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Senator, going back to New England, area of both know very well. 4 years ago, the President carried everything but Rhode Island. What issues has the candidate, Stevenson, raised this year, which would swing the vote to him from those who voted 4 years ago for Eisenhower?
Well, I think that we don't perhaps have the sort of concentrated issues like they might have in the Midwest, the farm issue or the power conservation issue in the Northwest, but those regional issues vary somewhat. Now, I think the general overall issue is perhaps the best we have in New England, a foreign policy, and I think that the fact that the United States, I believe, relative to the Soviet Union, has had serious difficulties in the last 3 years, at least from the point of view of our national security, question of leadership, the fact that the people in that area, I think not only in Rhode Island, but in Massachusetts, I believe in Connecticut, put more confidence in the Democratic Party than they do the Republican Party. Now, there were some things, perhaps, about the Democratic Party that they didn't like in 1952. The point is that I think those have been sloughed off. And now I think that they'll be prepared to come back to the Democratic Party. At least that's my hope. In other words, that's their natural trend based on their last 25 years' history. And I hope that they're going to come back.
Rhode Island, aren't we trying to get telephone calls from people in Rhode Island who say President Eisenhower carried Rhode Island?
I think he did. 7,000 votes.
He did carry it?
I think he did. Mr. O'Donnell's seldom wrong, however. The point is still...
I confess my error, and I'm sorry. Now, on, Senator, what you said in regard to New England's affection for his foreign policy, which was foreign policy leads to war, or does, or peace, one or the other. What do you think as to the two important issues which Adlai Stevenson has brought up at the end of this campaign? A, the termination of the military draft, and B, the end of the hate-bomb test, weapons which the President has described as our most effective military weapon. Do you think that's wise? Would you, as a senator, if he were elected, vote to put his policies as now out into effect?
Well, I wouldn't vote for the end of the draft because, and I don't think that Governor Stevenson has advocated that. He said only when he expressed the hope that it would be possible as new techniques came in and we needed men for a longer period of time, that it was possible by giving greater benefits to enlist a long-range professional army. The Marines have always relied on volunteers. The Air Force does, and the Navy today. Draftees are only going into the Army. He hopes that it would be possible to do that generally in a longer period of time. I think that's a sound position. Obviously not today. We have to depend on the draft and not vote to do it today.
Couldn't do it during this campaign or in the immediate future.
That's right, and I don't believe, I thought that he clarified that in his press conference in Washington about a month ago. Secondly, on the hydrogen bomb, I must say, without being a technical expert, and obviously I'm not a member of the Joint Atomic Energy Committee of the Congress, no technical information. But talking with Senator Clinton Anderson the other day in Texas, he convinced me, and I thought properly, that it would be that if all tests were frozen today, that the position of the United States in relationship to the Soviet Union would be satisfactory from a weapons point of view. Now, secondly, if that is true, and if the statement of many eminent scientists, of course there's some disagreement, but if the statement of those who say that we have reached the point of maximum danger and are going to in the next 20 years, if that is true, then I think the United States should take the leadership in bringing these tests to an end. And I think that we owe it first because we are the only country that engaged in atomic warfare in the last war. We suffered great loss of prestige in the Middle East, Far East, Japan. There is this danger of radioactivity. The scientists meeting this week, the American Federation of Scientists, stated that we're rapidly reaching in some portions of the world this danger. 7 or 8 or 9 countries in the next few years are going to begin these tests. I think that we'll lose the fact that just the Soviet Union and the United States are the only countries to have it. If we spread around the world, I think the danger will increase. So I think Governor Stevenson has made a real contribution in bringing this out. And I hope that whoever wins this election, that this matter will be followed through, because I think it's a public service.
Well, Senator, realistically, would you accept the word of the Soviets to, if we freeze ours, using your word, that anything to back up a reasonable belief that they could be trusted?
No, but as he has said only that we freeze the large bombs, and there's every indication from every scientist that any test that the Russians would then carry on after that date could be detected. Now, he didn't say freezing the smaller bombs, he didn't say stopping the research. So it seems to me when you have a possibility of detection, when you have this danger that the scientists talk about concentration in human bones of this strontium-90, when you have 6 or 7 countries who are going to, in the next year or two, begin to carry out hydrogen bomb experiments, and we will lose a monopoly which the Soviet Union enjoy today. I don't think it's a gamble with our security, or I wouldn't be in favor of it. But I think it is. I think it's going to be a great help to us as a nation. It's going to be a help to us in security, because I quote Senator Anderson saying that if the test was frozen today, we would be better off than the Soviet Union.
I think we'd be the only ones who'd freeze them.
But no, I think we better come back to that a little later. Mr. Hines.
Senator Kennedy, you mentioned in answer to one of Mr. Spivak's questions a few minutes ago the Democratic Party's leaders in Congress as being one of the assets that the Democratic Party has this year. Now, with reference to the Negro vote, which may turn out to be fairly important, one of these leaders is Eastland of Mississippi. who is probably the most forthright foe of civil rights and integration and all that. Why in the world should any Negro, that being the case, vote Democratic this time if it meant putting Eastland into a position to bottle up all civil rights legislation?
Well, in the first place, I don't think Senator Eastland would be in that position, and because I think that the committee can vote civil rights out if the Congress makes up its mind. You may suggest that it would be better off if Senator Jenner, who is the Republican leader, was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. I don't think that I would...
From a Negro point of view, would that make a great deal of difference whether Jenner was?
Well, no, what I'm now talking about, if you say that it doesn't make much difference between the two, then you come to the question of the whole Democratic philosophy and program, which I believe has been a benefit to the Negro for 25 years. We have a great many Democrats who have been extremely active. Senator Douglas, Senator Hubert Humphrey, Senator Lehman, the list is long. And I think that the programs of the Democratic Party on housing and minimum wage and unemployment compensation and Social Security and hospital construction and I think AIDS education and so on have been a benefit to the lower income groups, and unfortunately the Negroes, a predominant number of them, are in the lower income groups. So I think the program of the Democratic Party, its social legislation, have been a great help to the Negroes. Congressman Diggs and Congressman Dawson of Chicago, two of the three Negro members, believe that and endorse the Democratic Party strongly. Governor Stevenson, I think, has taken a very forthright position, and I think that the Negro voters could have every confidence in him. So that you always get in a party, two-party system, there are bound to be areas where some voters are unhappy with some of us, north or south, east or west. But the point that really counts is the general current of a party.
Well, in New York, of course, the Republicans are making quite a thing out of this slogan that a vote for Bob Wagner is a vote for Jim Eastland. Do you think that that's going to have much of an effect on the 500,000 or so people who live in Harlem?
Well, I couldn't assess that. The point I want to make is the seniority system has been in the Senate a long time. If the Democrats organized, Senator Eastland would be chairman. If the Republicans organized, Senator Jenner would be chairman. If the Democrats organize, you also get a lot of very able senators who are going to be leaders of committee. Lister Hill, Labor, and Dick Russell, and Senator Byrd of Finance, and so on. So that I think that a Negro can put his confidence in the Democratic Party, and I think its record over the last 25 years shows that, and they put their confidence in Adlai Stevenson.
Senator, did you mean to say that Senator Jenner and Senator Eastland are in the same position on the matter of immigration?
No, but I say that there are some people who might be concerned with having Senator Jenner chairman of the Judiciary Committees. But I don't think, personally, I don't know details of Senator Jenner's position. I know he hasn't fought hard civil rights legislation at the time that I've been in.
Mr. Spivak.
Senator, in the speech you made the other day, you said, and I quote exactly, in short, when Mr. Eisenhower talks about the party of the future, he's talking about the party of Richard Nixon.
Yes, you're quoting me correctly.
Suppose he is. What's wrong?
The point that I was making, Mr. Spivak, was that where, on the one hand, that the Democrats had dozens of young senators and governors and congressmen who I thought represented a very strong hope for the future, Republicans did not have any young men in a position of leadership except Richard Nixon. They don't have many able young governors, as we do in the case of Ribicoff and Minor and Peter and so on, and they don't have many able young as many, I think, senators, and that therefore the party of the future is really the Democratic Party. The only young man in leadership of the Republican Party is Nixon.
Well, now, the Governor Stevenson, particularly, and many other of your Democratic orators have been hammering away at Vice President Nixon. Vote for President Eisenhower, vote for Mr. Stevenson said to place the nation in the hands of Vice President Richard M. Nixon and the Republican Old Guard. Were you saying the same?
No, you quoted me. That's what I said.
No, but the way you talked, you said he was talking about the party of Richard Nixon.
That's correct.
Well, now the other Democratic orators are saying that this is putting the country in the hands of Nixon, just as you said. But they also said, and the Republican Old Guard. You know, are you linking the two also?
They say, I think the point is that Mr. Nixon is a favorite of the conservative wing of the Republican Party. I think that's a fact.
You think that if Nixon becomes president, that you're going to have a conservative Republican administration?
Oh, I think as opposed to President Eisenhower, there's no doubt that Vice President Nixon, based on his record in the Congress, is far more conservative on domestic matters.
Now, you were with him in Congress from,
That's
I think,
correct.
1946 to 1950. Do you think that some of the extreme things that are being said about him by the Democratic orators are justified?
Well, I haven't said anything extreme about him except to say that he's the leading young man in the Republican Party. That's extreme.
You're saying...
I'm not criticizing Nixon, except I'm saying that he's a conservative. His record has been that he's the conservative members of the Republican Party are supporting him. And if he became president, we could expect that Republican policy would switch to the right.
You're saying that...
And I've confined myself.
You're saying that he will not follow out the Eisenhower kind of Republican.
If he became president?
Yeah.
Well, unless it's always possible to change and switch. I'm just saying based on the record in the Congress.
Mr. Gerber.
Senator, 2 years ago, the president of Massachusetts Democratic candidate for governor, Foster Perkalow, running for the U.S. Senate, you withheld your endorsement. Now, this year, you're supporting his candidacy for governor. Why are you endorsing him this year when you failed to endorse him 2 years ago?
Well, I think he's superior to his present opponent.
Well, do you mean that he's a better man now than he was?
I think he's superior to the man he's running against. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to be elected. I think that's clear. I think that I don't want to say anything about his opponent or go into any personality discussion. I just say that I think he'd be a better governor than his opponent.
So would you have the same objections to him this year that you had 2 years ago?
Well, if I did, I would have stated that, but I don't.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Senator, continuing on Massachusetts again, I noticed in the New York Times survey of the analysis of how the vote was going up in the last week, and this morning the Daily News survey by Ted Lewis, both of them emphasized perhaps the balance of vote might determine the election, go against Adlai Stevenson, were those based upon the resentment of the fact that was divorced, chiefly by a broad-loom stratus. I knew I'm familiar with Irish race curtain and cut grass, but this was a new one to me. I've been away too long. Do you think that number that is not large enough to change the issue between defeat and victory?
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen the survey. I think it's possible that some people don't approve of divorce. But I do think it's fair, on the other hand, to point out that the strictest theological point of view, both Catholic and Protestant and Jewish, that there's nothing wrong with Governor Stevenson's status. If he became remarried, then it might cut across the religious conviction.
Well, I think imagine there was an emotional reaction of having
well,
first lady in the White House.
Personally, I think that he's qualified, and I don't think that disqualifies to any degree. I think he's...
You think it may have some
I don't
emotional
know.
effect on the vote?
I didn't see the survey, and it's possible that it may, but, as you said, have an emotional reaction. But the point I think is he qualified? I think he is qualified, and
Mr. Hines.
Senator Kennedy, you mentioned earlier that one of the issues close to the people in Massachusetts is foreign policy. And we have the foreign policy issue facing us right now, and all these uprisings behind the Iron Curtain. I wonder if you'd tell me what you think could be done by the United States under a Democratic administration, let's say, in coping with this problem that faces us in Poland and Hungary, maybe some other places later.
well, the United States, of course, is bordered to the United Nations. Secretary Dulles indicated with economic assistance. I think it's the most delicate matter, and I think, therefore, as at least from reading the paper, I think all political candidates of both sides have refrained from commenting on it or attempting to reap some advantage of it. Not being rather reluctant to say very much about it. The United States can't intervene too directly because then the Soviet Union would intervene more directly, and there's no telling whether that would be of assistance to the Poles and step at least to take away from Russian control. So I would really rather refrain, only I don't think it's probably a very helpful area to move in.
Democratic orators haven't been bashful at all about making the hydrogen bomb a political issue.
Well, I think that would I heard Mr. Stevenson, however, at his press conference here a month ago, refrain from commenting on the Suez issue because he felt it might not be helpful to the United States in its negotiations. That's the only reason I refrained. The hydrogen bomb is a great public question about which he has a strong view in opposition to the administration, so I think the case is
Mr. Spivak.
The President Eisenhower has indicated a willingness to discuss fully the state of his health and the question of his ability to carry on. I have so many of the Democrats, I'm not suggesting this appeal, but so many Democrats have treated this issue obliquely and only by innuendo. Do you personally think it's in the public interest to discuss the President's health out loud?
Well, I think the facts of the President's health are well known, and his illness and his heart attack and his age. And therefore, I think the American people can make a judgment as to whether they want to continue or not. I think the facts are out on the table, and I really don't see any necessity for the Democrats to belabor it. Everybody knows what the illness is, and they make a judgment themselves on what they want to do for the future, and I don't really see that we should discuss it any more personally than it's been referred to. The reference is there. It is an issue and should be, and people should take it into consideration in deciding what they want to do for the future. After we've said that, then I think it's up to the American people.
You think it is an important issue, though, in this campaign?
Well, I think it ought to be taken into consideration, obviously, and I think the American people will in deciding what they should do. They may decide to go ahead or they may not, but of course they're going to bring it into their account, and I think they can do that without our attempting to belabor it.
When I switch to Massachusetts, they tell me that if you go out and work hard, Massachusetts may be strong to see. Do you think so?
Well, I've been working as hard as I can since March when I came out for Governor Stevenson and when I went to the convention for him, and I've been up there, and I'm introducing him tomorrow night on TV, and my mother is in the morning, and my brother's on the train with him, and I'm doing about everything I can do, and I'm taking the train tonight to go up there. So I hope, if that's true, then the chances look good in Massachusetts, because I'm doing everything I can and will do so until a week from Tuesday.
I think we're going to have to wait for the results, Senator. I'm sorry to have to interrupt, but I see that our time is up. Thank you very much, Senator Kennedy, for being with us. Now here is our announcer.
Every 23 seconds, there's another automobile accident, reports the National Safety Council. And 60% of the fatal accidents are caused by high speed or faulty brakes. To make certain that your car can be kept under safe control at all times, it's important that it be equipped with quality brake lining. For safety's sake, have your brakes inspected regularly. The key to your safety can be the brake lining. Don't wait until it reaches the danger point. Tell your serviceman that you want Johns-Manville asbestos brake lining. Whatever make of car you drive, Johns-Manville has brake lining made especially for it. When you reline your brakes, don't bargain with your safety. For your protection, look for the Johns-Manville name both on the lining and on the box.
Goodbye for Senator John F. Kennedy and Meet the Press. Next week, Meet the Press will be brought to you by Pan American, world's most experienced airline. Our guest will be Mr. Sherman Adams, Assistant to the President. Meet the Press is produced by Lawrence E. Spivak, Associate Producer Helen Johnson, directed by Carl Dagan, Technical Director Leon Kromek. This is Jack Roney speaking. Meet the Press came to you from the Sheraton Park Hotel in Washington, D.C.
Meet the Press has been brought to you by Johns-Manville. Through this program, Johns-Manville brings you the story of its products and services developed and produced by its more than 22,000 employees. Johns-Manville is dedicated to the principles of free enterprise, that only through research and dynamic economic expansion under our profit system can we provide our people with more jobs, better products, and better living in our free America.
This has been an NBC television production.